Hi, everybody. This is Haley from the Stage and Sell team at Rethink Real Estate. Today, we are here with Melissa Vasilev. Hi, Melissa.
Morning. How are you guys?
Great, great. She is
Good.
a senior loan officer at Bay Equity, and we just wanted to talk to her today to start off our Buyer 101 tutorials instead of, these first-time buyers looking on Zillow and finding all of these houses that they might want to go check out, calling up a realtor and then saying, I want to go see it, let's go put in an offer. That's not how it works. There's kind of a few steps that you need to take before you can get your dream home. And I think Melissa is a great asset on talking about some of those or some of the process. So Melissa, let's go ahead and talk about how would one go about finding a lender right now?
So finding a lender is pretty easy because everything's online, but I really highly suggest that you ask friends or family for referrals for somebody that they trust as a good loan officer. Um, and more importantly, sometimes your realtor is your best referral source just because they've worked with several loan officers, may have a preferred, knowing that that loan officer is on task, is ethical, is able to treat the client with the respect that they deserve. So lots of times it's just relying on that circle, your sphere of influence.
First off, what is the difference between going to a mortgage broker and then going to a bank that you may have a couple of checking or savings accounts with that may offer some lending options? What's the main difference between?
That's a great question because everybody asks that question. A lot of clients know that there's a difference between a bank and a broker. So let's break it down even further. So you have your banks, we call them the big three. You have your Wells Fargo, your Chase, your Bank of America, even your credit unions, for instance, where you have your checking or savings accounts. And a lot of borrowers will start there, talking to their banks, thinking that their banks already have some information on them, know who they are, etc. Not always the best step, but it's a great place to start. The most important thing when you are going to one of those big banks is just to make sure that they're going to be able to perform in a timely manner. And it's really a max capacity thing, right? They have so many borrowers that come to them just because they already have that relationship built that oftentimes they may miss a close of escrow just because once you work with the loan officer, you seem to get passed off into the next
Right.
department. So you lose that one point of contact.
Yeah.
And it works great for some people not so much. So the next thing are private banks. So that would be where Bay Equity is, for instance. And there's several of them, big ones here in the Phoenix metropolitan area. And we are not only just a bank and can do in-house loans, but we're also able to broker out loans if we want to or if needed. So I kind of have the best of all worlds. And we also have what are called correspondent relationships. So when you go to a Bay Equity, for instance, you kind of are exposed to being able to get all the different pricing in those areas, et cetera. So it's a really nice thing. And you have the one point of contact, which would be myself. Mortgage brokers don't actually do in-house loans. What they do is they have the origination of the loan, but then they outsource the underwriting and the lending to a different bank. So you lose a little bit of that control over the file just because you're relying on a different company to actually underwrite and close and fund the loan, etc. So all of them have their own pros and cons. Like I said, the private banks are my favorite just because we do have the best of both worlds. We have those correspondent relationships with the big banks as well.
Sure, sure. So when a buyer is shopping around, let's say between a bank or a mortgage broker, what are some of the traits that might be important to look for when you're trying to find a lender?
So obviously, pricing is in the forefront of everybody's everybody's mind. Yeah. So you do want to shop to get different rates, but it's important to know that rates fluctuate constantly throughout the day. So it's if you're shopping, you don't want to shop somebody on a Monday and then shop somebody on a Tuesday and maybe shop somebody on a Thursday just because those rates are doing this all day long. So when you're shopping, you really kind of want to pinpoint it within a couple hours. So make those phone calls, shop. That way you can compare what the closing costs are, what the interest rate is, and see which one's best for you. But it's really finding a loan officer that that fits your personality, that you're comfortable with, that you trust, you think is ethical, that you know is going to work hard for you.
Somebody
Um,
call and know that you're going to get a call back.
right, like I'm available on weekends and
Yeah.
evenings. Some loan officers aren't. They want to cut off their phone, but it's important. That's
It's a
when you're
scary
I'm
process.
home.
You're like on edge this whole time, and just having that security of knowing that, okay, this is the person that I'm going to be going through this process with, and I'll be able to get a hold of them and get a call back when I feel uneasy or, yeah.
You're absolutely right. This is the biggest financial endeavor you're going to go through. So you have to feel confident and comfortable. And it's knowing that what's going on with your process. You don't ever want to be a question because it's the most exciting
Sure.
and scary thing at the same time. So when you do have those questions, you want them answered quick.
Yeah.
So it is important that you find somebody that's going to kind of fit with that personality.
So I guess what's the whole point of doing all of this? Why can't you just be with your realtor and be like, okay, I love this house. Let's put in an offer right now. Why do you have to get pre-qualified or pre-approved even? What's the whole point of that?
You touched on it with your opening statement. So when, first of all, Phoenix metropolitan area is on fire.
Hot.
Purchases are crazy right now. There's multiple offers on the property, and these sellers have an upper hand at this point. You
Yeah.
see that day
We
in
like
and
to
day
tell
out.
our buyers too, if we're looking at a house and they love it, we like to tell them, you love this house and there's probably 10 other people out there that are loving this too. So we need to make you, if you do want to put in this offer, we need to make you number one and stand out.
So
So
that to have that competitive edge up goes right into the fact that first of all, you should be getting pre-qualified before you find that home that you love, right? So the reason that you need your pre-qualification is because it will allow me to make sure that we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. That I can sit there and tell you you're approved up to X amount of dollars. When I do that, we talk about payments. And that's important because I may say you can, for instance, be approved up to a purchase price of 300,000. But if you're not comfortable with that payment, we need to knock down that purchase price to be able to get that payment in your comfort zone. We
mhm.
don't ever want anybody to feel that they're house poor. It's important to have gas and groceries and all that stuff. So when we have those conversations in the beginning, we can make sure that everybody knows exactly what we should be looking at. That pre-qualification comes with some extra things. So I personally like to get that supporting documentation. Supporting documentation is going to support your application. It's paycheck stubs,
Mhm.
W-2, bank statements. So I can dial in the income, make sure we're solid there, dial in the assets to make sure our down payment's covered.
Mhm.
Those types of things are important because when I send you the pre-qualification form, it actually has boxes that say yes or no. Did borrower supply paycheck stubs? Yes or no. W-2s, yes or no. The seller looks at that. And the reason that they look at it is they want to know that borrower and loan officer have done their job, that they are a good potential client, and that helps out with the competition,
Yeah.
right? They were ready to put an offer in.
Aggressively looking, not just
That
willing.
is that
Yeah. Yeah.
to go a step further. There's a difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. So the pre-qualification is just what I said. We're just kind of getting the application in. I pull the credit. We have a conversation. I say, yes, borrower looks like they're pre-qualified for this home. When we get that supporting documentation, I like to take it a step further. I actually like to get it into underwriting for what's called a credit approval. So where the underwriter double checks me, make sure that I calculated the income correctly, I calculated the down payment correctly, everything's ready to go. When I have that for you, and I can give you a certificate that comes from my underwriter to state that my borrower is credit approved, how strong do you think that makes your offer compared to somebody else's?
So much stronger.
It's a huge difference. So I think with the teamwork that we do between borrower, realtor, and loan officer, if we all do that up front, we're ready to knock down some doors and blow some socks off.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa. This is
My
Melissa.
pleasure.
Yeah, she's from Bay Equity. And at the end of this video, we're going to be putting in some of her disclosures that are kind of legal. So no FBI agents are going to be coming our way.
Well, and all my contact information is going to be there. So reach out anytime. And they're, you know what? They're lucky to have you. I think that you're amazing.
And
I
you
think,
too.
oh, thank you. No, honestly, I think that you care about your clients. You are on top of your game. So I enjoyed doing this with you, and it was a
Oh,
pleasure.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Melissa.